All righty, it is February 22nd, 2021. Welcome to the blockchain team meeting. Recording is beginning. All right, mainnet check-in. We got 2.0.6 shipped out this last week. It fixes a nasty issue in the miner where if you happen to replace by fee too often, the miner will happily burn all of your Bitcoin afterwards. That's been repaired. The fix has been out. I'm pretty sure people are running it, but I don't know yet because we don't actually have the means to keep track of this information. It's actually something I wanted to talk about a bit later.
I have a script that will take the outgoing network connections and try to read V2 info for all of them, and then it'll sum the version hashes. But,
cool.
Yeah.
What has that told you so far?
I haven't run it since 2.05 or something, or 2.04, I think. So.
Yeah, I thought about doing that too, but I'm also curious because I think people run miners behind NATs. And I just want to make sure that we have a way of tracking even what native nodes do if we want to keep track of version numbers in general. Maybe it's something we could get from the handshake protocol or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can talk about that in the discussion section. But as far as I've been able to tell also from mainnet, I think the flash blocks are becoming a bit less frequent. There's a difficulty adjustment this week, and that's slowed down the ability for miners to produce blocks. So flash blocks still happen. We'll eventually want to tackle that somehow. I know that as the number of POX reward cycles gets longer, it will take longer for nodes to, in the current logic, do a full inventory sync of their neighbors before they can try to fetch the next burn block. So we'll probably need to tackle this issue sooner rather than later.
Wait, is that true for iterative operation? Like if you're already at the chain tip, does inventory sync slow down when POX cycles increase?
Right, it has to, because the number of messages you must exchange in order to do a full block inventory sync grows not only grows linearly, obviously, with the number of blocks. And in order to determine what the inventory for a particular reward cycle is, you have to have synchronized your chain state at least with all the prior reward cycles. So the way that the inventory sync works under the hood is you first synchronize the POX bit vector from another node. That's pretty fast because you can cram a whole single POX vector. It doesn't take that much space.
Right.
And then for each reward cycle, you have to go fetch a 2000 bit or 2100 bit inventory vector from each node. And that has to be done piecemeal because at each reward cycle, you must indicate what your consensus hash was at the beginning. So that way I know that the bits I'm getting are truly the bits that are for the same chain view. I see.
Okay. Is there an issue open for this behavior?
It's part of the fix to 1805. The reason nodes have to wait in the first place is precisely so that you can have a good chance of finding an anchor block. But once we know which anchor blocks are the likely anchor blocks, then we'll have a much smarter chain synchronization logic that will allow.
No, but this is like if you've already reached the chain tip, like you shouldn't need to wait if you already have all the anchor blocks, like regardless of 1805.
Yes, that's true. There's another issue open for that actually.
Okay.
There's optimizations we can do in syncs. Like you don't have to synchronize inventories for regions of the chain state where you already have all the blocks, for example, or have all the blocks in the fork.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, those are definitely optimizations we can take.
Cool.
That said, let's go ahead and look at the board. Reviewing progress. Is Jay Wiley on the call?
No, he's on vacation this week and I think next week as well.
Okay. He wants to get some more Prometheus monitoring into the current node. I think this PR needs a bit more loving though, because some of the metrics just need to be moved to different places. But that should be doable.
Okay. If you leave some comments in there, I might be able to take a look at it if I have time this week.
Yep, I already did.
Sweet, thank you.
V2 POX updates. I think I approved this already. Aaron, do you need one more reviewer?
Yep.
All right. Now that Ludo's back, I'll just add him. Revisit working directory architecture. Is this out of draft now?
It should be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll go ahead and take a look at that this week. Gavin's not on the call. Oh, I think this is actually done. We moved the, I think Whoa Buddy, Jason, took a look at this already. So I'll just go ahead and close this. All right, in progress. Mempool collect metrics on transaction propagation. Is there a PR for this, Aaron?
Yeah, there's a PR for tracking pending transactions, or like transactions received by the nodes, current nodes mempool, and updating metrics when transactions get included, stuff like that. It doesn't like by itself like tell you the network propagation of mempool transactions, but that's kind of the job of like a metrics summing or aggregation.
Yeah, that would be something that Jay Wiley's PR would address, I would think.
Probably not directly. Like it's something that like you would have to write into either, like if you're using Grafana to aggregate metrics, like you would have to write a query that's like aggregating across multiple nodes.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I might be able to look into something like that if it has to do with Grafana.
Yeah, I think once we have these metrics actually merged into a node, I think we can start an issue around that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bump the reviewer count here just so we can make forward progress on this then. 1805 is still in progress. This has been a fun journey. I think I've actually found an algorithm that will work for us that shouldn't even require a soft fork to activate. The explanation is kind of long-winded though, so we can save that for maybe the end of the call for anyone who's interested, because it's kind of tedious. Modification of mining module, and that's one of Gavin's PRs. I don't think there's been any progress on this though. Make TXLog a runtime setting. This is the same. This is addressed in your PR, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to move that to review in progress and same with this. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. This is still in progress because it's blocked on individual node statistics. That's weird. Sorry, GitHub's being uncooperative. It's not. There we go. 1641, excuse me.
Still no progress.
Okay.
I will get to it.
Yep, no rush. Stacking details in V2 POX. Is this the POX endpoint updates, Aaron? Alex, is everything in there addressed?
I didn't check out the PR yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that in a bit.
Yeah. Just tag Alex on the PR.
Alrighty, do that right now. Cool. Alrighty, new issues. Follower panics when started before master node has progressed burn chain.
Yeah, so this is something I encountered when I'm working on setting up a test ground to test the Atlas fixes. And so, yeah, basically if the, when you set up one of these test grounds, it kind of starts everything at the same time, and the followers just will never start up because of this panic if they're started kind of before the mining has started on the burn chain.
So you mean, oh, I see. So the problem is that they're starting from block. I mean, the error message right here indicates that the node doesn't like the fact that you're starting from burn block.
Yeah. It's not a huge deal. I was able to mitigate this just by like adding like a sleep and having them wait a couple minutes. But yeah, I thought it was worth pointing out.
Yeah, I think I had a small follow-up comment here, just because the software is written in a way that kind of expects the burn chain to have at least one block already.
Yeah.
About 10 years after Bitcoin was created.
Yeah, I think that the weird thing here, which may be like a bug that, I don't know, it probably only manifests in like reg test environments. But the weird thing is that it's like the sortition DB getting the canonical burn chain height, and its canonical burn chain height is like lower than the first burn block.
Yep.
Which seems like a state that almost should be impossible to get into.
Right.
Like,
that's why I thought that might be working as intended here.
Yeah. No, but like it's strange to me that the sortition DB even returns a block. Like I would expect a not found error or something.
I don't think it returns a block though, does it?
Well, it says invalid block height from DB 0. I would expect this to have kicked out like a DB not found error.
I see. I don't have that file open in front of me, but so this might be a DB not an error. This might be.
Yeah. Like I think under no situation would like you be able to start up a node and like not have to wait, but I think there might be something worth looking into here. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I can investigate.
Alrighty. Possible improvements to local reg test setup. It's from Hank. Okay, I mean, this all looks pretty reasonable. Configurable reward cycle length, immediate mining on reg test. Literally, it looks like you already are addressing this in Atlas fixes.
So I think that the feedback from Hank is still valid, but at least he's unblocked because his initial goal was just to be able to test Atlas on mocknet. And yeah, attachments was not something available on mocknet initially. So I just implemented that feature. Yeah.
Okay, so this is still open though because we're not taking care of these first two issues.
Yeah, I think that Hank is right because the changes that he's doing and he's describing is basically what I'm doing every time on my local when I want to spawn a crypto network like locally. So yeah, I think that we should address it at some point. But, yeah. At least he's not blocked right now.
Yeah, the tricky part of this is setting the variable in POX, right? Like in the POX smart contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically have like a stash of changes modifying the constants in core mode and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah, it would also be really wonderful, I think, to increase this in testnet and do a reset at some point. Because like the five block reward cycle length is really painful.
Is it really 5 blocks on Xenon right now? I thought it was like 50.
Yes.
Damn, no wonder it takes forever to sync.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the initial goal for the 5 blocks, like we wanted to test POX, and we wanted to. We had very little time to.
Yes. It also makes like the integration tests much faster.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have
That would be a chain reset though, right?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
This would be a chain reset for Xenon.
Okay, maybe we can package together the set of changes that we want to make to the testnet. And with enough of a heads up, I think it probably is okay. But I know that several people at this point are, relying on the testnet, so we don't want to do it. Yeah, we want to
Yeah.
be deliberate.
Yeah, we don't want to do it like accidentally and just like in the
Or like, just like
with no
on a
notification.
whim.
On a whim, yes. But yeah, so I think that the idea would be we make this configurable first, and like the default configuration in testnet is just the same configuration that we currently have.
Would we want to roll this out in reg test as well?
Probably.
Yeah, because it's on the same reward cycle.
Yeah.
Making configurable sounds good because then you can really do like nasty kinds of torture tests on the system as well. Like if you want to have a whole bunch of POX reward cycles active at once and you want to see how fast the chain can sync. I know there's a lot of value in doing this. So does anyone want to take a crack at this?
I could maybe look into this, Jude.
Thanks, Reed. All right. Emit dropped mempool transactions. So I think Matt, I'm not quite sure I understand what you're asking for here. You're just asking for every time we drop a transaction, like through garbage collection, we let the event observer know?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that could be done. The relayer would just need to generate and emit those events whenever it does a garbage collection.
Right, makes sense. Yeah, I would say it's low priority because I think the front end is going to show mempool transactions as expired or some kind of UI state in a shorter time frame than the node actually drops them. But long term, I think it would be good for the API to have this information.
Yeah. We also drop too expensive transactions, like transactions that take up like 80% of the block limit and don't get accepted, or like don't get included in a block. We drop. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
yeah. So
priority.
Yeah. So it'd be good to have this.
Yeah, it's more than just garbage collection. Also, if you replace by fee a transaction, knowing that it gets bumped is helpful as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I can take this on for myself. It probably won't happen until I have it fixed for 1805 though.
I can take this on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might actually have something for 1805 finally, now that I've looked at it hard enough. Testnet bug, block inventory sync does not complete, exponential time required. Well, it's not exponential time, but it is not linear either. I think it's quadratic if you do the asymptotic analysis. This kind of gets to the thing we were talking about earlier, Aaron, about this getting longer and longer and longer. The reason why it's getting so hard for the nodes to reach the chain tip the longer they get is because they have to do this waiting game where they do a full imp sync with their neighbors. And that's again, just because the system isn't smart enough to realize that it has an anchor block or not. So maybe this is just related. I'll just tag this as related to the other imp sync problems. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I'll just do this after the meeting. Minor stuff mining while having a sufficient Bitcoin balance. Actually, before we move on, I just want to quickly assign this to myself here. So it looks like what this guy did was he submitted new Bitcoin to his wallet in order to have his miner keep going, and the node didn't notice the Bitcoin was there. It's the best I can guess. He didn't have logs, unfortunately. I did take a look at his UTXOs because this is his address right here, and the UTXO set is pretty fragmented. Like he has a high balance, but a lot of tiny UTXOs. Last I'd spoken to him was 4 days ago. He had, I think he's just looking for advice on how to consolidate his UTXOs. The answer there, I guess, would just be to use a Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
And do it for him.
Yeah, like he can import the private key into Electrum or something, and it'll generate like a big transaction and let him set the fee. So usually the way you want to do this is just like set a super low fee and just like wait a day and a half for it to confirm.
Cool. POX contract does not support Beach 32 addresses. This superseded another issue of the same type. Maybe this is a Stacks 2.1 question. I think we talked about this last time as well, about possibly supporting arbitrary script sigs, but that got ruled out because that allows people to put in potentially invalid script sigs that Bitcoin network will not accept, which would thereby prevent miners from mining in that block when that address came up for consideration. So maybe we could just, maybe the answer here is like when we work on 2.1, we just add Beach 32 support. Does that sound like a reasonable thing, or should we just punt on this?
Sounds reasonable, but yeah, we should think about how much work we really want to do on this, just because we do support pay to witness script hash.
Yeah, that we do.
Yeah, Fetch 32 is not that much more efficient.
It's about 25% more efficient, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But people are getting paid either way, so. Create signed releases. I think we talked about this last time. This is addressed by having the announce at stacks.org mailing list, and I've been signing those. I've been signing the hashes of all the artifacts that we produce with my PGP key, so that's getting addressed that way. I'll just go ahead and close with that.
It would still, I think, be great to have more traditionally signed releases, right?
Yeah. So like, how do we need, I guess the question I have though for making that happen is, what would that signing process look like? We wouldn't have Circle CI do it because we don't really trust Circle CI. Would it be something that we would have to do as developers, or?
I actually already started working on this about a month ago, but had to delay it for the mainnet launch. I could link this to the DevOps ticket that I created.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful, especially if it's in like an automated thing that we just all do as part of our normal release work.
Yeah, I was looking into what we could use. It would happen during the GitHub action action workflow, but it's just a matter of finding the right tools that could do this for each distribution.
Right. I'm not sure he's talking about making signed packages though. When you say distribution, unless I'm mishearing that.
Yeah, I think we're conflating a few different things, Charlie. I think you were talking about, like notarizing binaries so they run on Mac OS and things like that, or the equivalent on Windows. I think in this case, all we're talking about is a way for people to independently verify what they're downloading from GitHub is actually what we intended to be available on GitHub.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, then my issue would be different.
Yeah, so I mean, I think even in this post, like Jason has a couple of examples that we could look at how Bitcoin is doing it. Debian has a similar process, and they do publish signed releases on GitHub that we can look at. I agree, it's probably useful to make some progress on this, but I don't think it's a blocker either. So maybe Charlie, you can put this sort of at the back of your queue to get to at some point.
Yeah, like as we can keep making incremental progress on this too. Like maybe one day we'll be able to do something like reproducible builds and have the core developers each sign their reproducible build or compare hashes or something like that. To even write that information to the blockchain itself if we wanted to.
Okay, I'll subscribe to this and track this issue.
There's the link. Thanks to Walker. Cool. Backlog, decrease number of side forks to help miner profitability. Ongoing work. The best we can do here is just make it, 0 forks, but that's going to take a lifetime of work probably.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we can close this issue and just open a new one to at least like establish a metric and start tracking it. That makes it a lot more actionable. I feel like right now, this is kind of an issue that we're not actively like doing anything about.
Yeah, maybe the way we can say this is like, what if we had Prometheus monitoring just keep track of the chain quality for the past day or something like that, and then we get an error if like you have fewer than 80% of blocks in the same fork.
Exactly, something along those lines.
Yeah. That makes sense. You can also assign the adding these Prometheus metrics issue to me.
Okay.
Take a look at it. There'll probably be like 3 variables or something, just measuring chain quality over the past 100 blocks.
This doesn't necessarily need to be done by the node. That can be done just by looking at the history.
Yeah, it could be done through basically like the stacks dump tool.
Right.
The nice thing about doing it in the node is that it makes monitoring much easier if it's something that the prom module can report on, especially because it's a compile time module. So there's kind of no penalty for nodes that aren't interested in reporting.
Yep, certainly doable. I'll go ahead and open the issue after the meeting just because I don't want to waste y'all's time. Moving on. How are we doing on Atlas with the 3 issues we have open for it?
So code complete, the PR is, I think, open as a draft, and I'm working on testing everything. So progress on that front. So locally, I'm able to spawn 10 nodes and dispatch 100 transaction implying attachment. So that means 200 transactions because it's a pre-order plus a register. So with 100 transactions, it's okay, but the node is crashing when I'm bumping to 1,000 transactions, so 1,000 attachments. So yeah, I'm basically seeing a node crashing because of the network error.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm investigating that, and I think that yeah, we should probably have more eyes on these clusters because I don't think that the miner is behaving as expected. Like, yeah, I can see a lot of inefficiency when building these blocks with these 2,000 transactions in the mempool.
Wait, the crash is happening in the miner?
Yeah.
Interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about the error?
Yeah, so the miner is crashing intentionally because I have an event observer set, and the network. So basically, I'm getting an accept error from the networking thread, and if there's an event, like if there's an event dispatcher being set, then we just crash the node like by design because we don't want to.
You don't miss events, right? But that error though, what's the error you're getting from the networking thread?
So that's embarrassing because the rust is shadowing the details. So yeah, I need to put more logs, but I can't see the trace. I mean, I see that it's crashing at near node line 651, and then if you dig a bit, you see that it's coming from an accept error, but that's pretty much it right now. So yeah, I can follow up with more details when I have some.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what the peer-to-peer thread's doing there. Networking errors like that usually shouldn't be propagated to the read layer because it will crash the node. It's not like we want it to. I know that the panic handler in the node will swallow a message that you provide via expect or unwrap or something like that. So the way I've been dealing with that in the past is I just print out an error message on standard error before doing a panic. So at least that way I know what kind of error I'm getting.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get some more eyeballs on this. We'll see if we can find out why that's happening. Reed, how are we doing on decoupling the Clarity VM?
Sorry, I was muted there for a sec. I've kind of put this back into the backlog because I'm working on the Atlas test ground stuff at the moment.
Okay.
I have that PR open that moves some of the string stuff out of util, and I think there is some discussion going on in there. I think Ludo raised a question before he left last week that I tried to address, but we haven't quite resolved. So,
sorry, which issue is this? Oh, right here. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. The question is, do we want the net module to become a dependency of the VM?
Yeah, and I think ultimately the answer is probably no. But
yeah.
I think maybe as like an intermediary step towards kind of decoupling the VM, it maybe makes sense to move this there for now, and then we can think about that later. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong move. I'm just not really sure what the alternative is.
Well, what you could do, for example, is put this into like core or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense.
Or maybe there's a way we just make a separate top level module that's just for common data types. So that way you're not pulling in any sort of IO intensive work or anything like that.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I was actually wondering why there isn't more stuff in core. It seems kind of.
I can actually tell you why. It's that was where the testnet / stacks node stuff was supposed to go. It's just we haven't gotten it yet.
Got it. Okay. Well, yeah. If people like that idea, I'm happy to put it there.
So
Yeah.
question. So why? Like I think that it's okay if the VM relies on util, right?
Yeah.
So why are we taking these things from util?
Rely on util.
It's because strings. This file relies on VM, so it creates a dependency. I believe it creates a dependency on VM for util.
And util in turn depends on other things. But that in itself is also bad, but it also means that util depending on something like chain state kind of doesn't help us move the refactor the VM the way we want to.
Yeah, I mean, part of the answer here could just be that like stacks message codec probably shouldn't return a net error, but instead return like a codec error.
Yeah.
And be in its own module, whether that's util or like a codec module or something like that. And then like that shouldn't be super painful because you can always just create like a from implementation for net error and the message codec. But yeah, I think there's a lot of entanglements like this that, yeah.
Yeah. So moving forward, then, like I almost wonder if I think codec and putting codec into its own module might be a separate conversation from just getting strings out. So maybe the thing to do here is just focus on making a like a types module where common data types that don't have any dependencies really of their own might just end up living there. Codec could then become its own module, or maybe it couldn't. We'll just have to see how that plays out. The codec thing is kind of scary for a couple reasons, though. The reason why I'm hesitant to try to move it around just yet is because it's also it's also consensus critical, because it determines the serialization of things like, I know that we use stacks message codec for blocks, for example, in transactions. I don't think the errors are consensus critical, but the one thing that, if we're thinking about refactoring just at a meta level, one thing that I know other projects are trying to do is they're trying to structure their code broadly such that the consensus critical parts are their own module, and that the things that are not consensus critical are definitely in separate modules. Maybe that's something we want to build towards, in which case the codec module will be consensus critical. Data types will probably all be consensus critical.
Jude, how do you come to the conclusion if one thing is consensus critical or not? Like when thinking about like a data type or something, is it just if it's used by consensus, the part of the code base that's involved in consensus, or?
A good way to think of it is like, if you were to change the way that the module works, would it cause a chain split if you had two nodes that different implementations?
I see. That makes sense.
Like, could I produce a block that would be invalid to the other node? Like, this is why you can't, for example, change the wire format of a transaction, because the other node.
Got it.
But you could do something like change the way that the networking RPC happens. Like, that doesn't matter. That's not critical.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I wish it could be more rigorous, but like, I think it's just a matter of just trying to ask yourself, like, if this changed behavior, what would break? And if the answer the network breaks, then that means it's consensus critical.
Right. Okay, well, it sounds like I definitely have some stuff to work on with this. I like the idea of having maybe like a common types module or something like that. Yeah, I'll continue to work on this. But with regards to this PR specifically, I guess maybe like, where are we landing on this? With regards to the string stuff, we don't want this in VM, it sounds like, and maybe put this in. Would this go in the types module, or would this go in core? I'm still a little bit confused about that.
I think really types module myself.
Okay.
Maybe then later on we can have a conversation about where codec needs to go.
Okay.
Sound good?
The core module, depending on something else.
What's that, Ludo?
The core module depending on something else. Or core dead end in terms of dependency.
I missed the first part of what you said. It seems like your mic is like something's going on.
No, I was wondering if the core module depends on something else.
It definitely does today, because like the mempool, I think, is really the only thing of note in the core module.
Yeah.
And that has a ton of dependencies on chain state at a minimum. Yeah.
Yep.
We could have like a top level, like, I don't know, we could call it collections or data types, whatever. And we start moving stuff in there. And we just want to make sure that module is itself a dead end.
Yep.
Cool. I'll start doing that.
Thanks, Reed.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done with the backlog now. Let's run to the board. Maybe that's all right. Let's go to discussion.
By the way,
Um,
before we jump on to discussions, maybe I missed this, but did we already talk through Ludo's open PR for better process termination?
No, we did not, because it's not on the board, but it should be.
Oh, maybe the automation is broken. Like any PRs that get opened up should show up on the in progress column automatically.
Yeah, it's not assigned to this project.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The automation should do that, but I can take a look at it. Something is busted there.
Okay, I know I need to take a look at this. How are we doing on this, Ludo? Ludo, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I mean, the PR is fairly straightforward. I think my main question, and this is mainly for Jude, is, if you're okay with pulling in the Control-C dependency. That's because if so, I think that the PR can be fairly easy.
I haven't taken a look at it yet. I'm sorry. What was the thing about the what dependency?
There's a package, there's a crate called Control-C. I think that does handling of SIGINT.
I will take a look at this. I'm generally skeptical of packages like this, so.
Which is why I'm flagging it.
I see. Yeah. Okay, it might be fine. I'll just have to look at it. Generally speaking, just for the audience, whenever we add new packages to the blockchain, one thing that I at least try to do is I try to look at the source code to the package to make sure it's not doing anything bad or not anything badly or something, or make sure it's something we just can't do ourselves. Just because, it's better to control it's better to keep the set of packages you depend on to a minimum, lest you risk breakage down from upstream dependencies later on.
I will add that is exactly what Rust cargo pinning should be used for. Like if we review the code base and it looks fine, like, I don't know, it's like 100 lines of code. And I don't think we should try to vendor it the way that we have done some other stuff. Like we should just pin at the version number.
Yeah, that's fair. You should take a look at it first.
Yeah.
All right. Should we just look at the rest of the PRs? Because I don't think all of them found their way into the tracker. I know we have.
I'd be supportive of that. I would say almost going backwards. Like we have a ton of stale PRs, and I don't know. We should probably figure out what we're doing with them.
Okay, we just got the update on 1641. That's still a draft, so whenever that's ready, we'll take a look. PR template. There's a lot of comments on this one. Was this already merged? I think that whenever I open a PR, I see a template.
We have a template.
Yeah. So do we need this issue here?
The current template, I think, is like generic for the Blockstack GitHub org. So it includes like a ton of content that's like really only relevant to like TypeScript projects and stuff like that.
I see.
So almost anything that we do in a PR template would be an improvement over what we currently have. Okay.
So take a look at this and merge it as soon as possible then.
That's my feeling.
All right, waiting for your review still.
Yeah.
Oops. All right. I think this particular PR can be closed. We're not even sure if the thing he's saying is correct here. And the SIPs have moved, so I'll just tell them to go reopen against the new SIP revo. All right. Two, 358. This is from Frieger. It is addressing the smoothing function. This is consensus critical, so we can't really do anything with this right now.
Yeah.
what would we like to do with PRs like this?
I don't know.
Should we have a branch for 2.1?
Probably, yes. So we have next.
Yeah,
We stopped using next.
right.
But the idea behind next was that it's for staging consensus critical changes.
Right. So should we just get this? So I mean, I would like to just get this merged in, but there's still a lot of open questions I have about how the 2.0 to 2.1 migration will happen.
Yeah.
For example, we might need to have extra logic in this that makes sure to use the old 2.0 method until the right block height is reached.
Yeah.
I don't know how to give feedback on that yet, because I don't even know.
So maybe what we should do is create an issue for 2.1 logic, migration logic, and say that this PR's implementation and like review is really blocked on solving this issue. Because yeah, I agree. In all likelihood, the implementation of this fix is going to have some sort of switch.
Ready. 2464. I'll just tag that issue in that PR just so we know. All right, mock minor. Is it still a draft, Aaron? The reason why I haven't taken a look at it
Oh
yet.
yeah. Yeah, it's still a draft. I can update it basically so that tests pass. I think that this includes like some like don't mine again sort of fix that we never did. And so I think that code needs to be kind of removed, and then it would be ready for review.
All right, I can take a look as soon as it's out of draft status.
Cool.
Revisit working dir architecture. This is just in my review this week, I think still. Same with you, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. But it is ready to go otherwise, right, Luda? Like once it's reviewed and accepted, we can merge it. If you're talking Luda, we can't hear you.
I think that the answer was yes from, I think we discussed it previously. So,
yeah. Okay.
And then we talked about that.
Just misspelling is the next one, I think.
Yeah. You just click the merge button.
Yeah. Well, it's conflicting. So.
Oh, okay.
Ask him to fix
I
it.
can, yeah, I mean, I can fix this. Like, this is a one-word change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one line change. Well, actually, it's a fix against 007, so I think this is the wrong repo. Because this file got moved.
Right, I mean, it still exists in master.
Oh, I see. Yes. No, wait, it doesn't. It got moved. See? It's gone.
Oh, I see. Okay, then yeah, close.
Yep.
We should,
I don't think we talked about this one yet. This is ready to merge. both reviewed?
Yeah, I think so. This is open against master.
Yeah.
It's the only question. Yeah. Okay.
Do we have to do a cut a new release then, or is this going to be imminently usable to Matt and to everyone else?
I think if we end up needing to do a release, we can always do that.
All right. Good to merge to master then.
Yeah, it's fine by me.
Sounds good. You can always build from source. All right. Atlas fixes we just talked about. ARC64 Apple. This is still a draft.
Yeah, the build doesn't work right now for whatever reason. So
we can't really do anything with this right now then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think OS X cross needs a little bit more work before it can support that.
Sorry, what was that?
The cross compiling utility that's currently used to build the x86 binaries in Docker. In theory, it was supposed to work, but it's not working yet. So they have an open issue. They haven't closed it. I think they just have to fix something. But.
All right. Can you go ahead and add that as a comment then to the PR, just so we know what to look for when it closes?
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I think the rest of these we've
talked about already.
We've talked about, so yeah, we should probably move back over.
Awesome. Okay, that was helpful. So we will need an issue to bump the testnet reward cycle to 50, and we'll coordinate the release for that, I guess, sometime this week, maybe next week, depends on who's using it. And we need Prometheus monitoring for the chain quality, which we can go ahead and add pretty easily. Both of these just have to have issues written up for them still. We talked about this earlier in the meeting, tracking miner and node versions. What do you all think about making it so that we write the node version to the miner's Coinbase transaction? We have 32 bytes of scratch area that miners can do whatever they want with it. We can take like the first or the last, whatever you want, 4 bytes of that to just record a node version.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Because if we ever have like fixes that are critical for miners to have, we can at least look at the network's blocks and see that they're actually trying to fix, they actually have rolled out that fix.
Yeah. Cool. We also have like 1 byte in the block commit, right?
Yeah, we do. We can do that too, as long as we don't have more than 256 versions.
Yes.
Or just have it roll around, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But how does this would help with anything? Because miners can fake that whatever they put, right?
Oh, they could definitely fake it. It's not used for consensus or anything like that. I think it's just for getting a best effort snapshot of like version rollouts.
Because right now we don't know what version of the nodes miners are running. And down the road, for example, if we have to apply like a soft fork or apply a fix of some kind for something that's maybe sensitive and shouldn't be talked about publicly until the network has rolled out the fix, we need to know when that happens. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. So like the way that I think about it is that it's probably pretty similar to like V2 info. Like a node could always lie about what version it's running.
Yeah, exactly.
Info.
Just assume that every miner runs custom code.
Yes.
So this becomes totally irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how irrelevant. Like, I think it would be strictly helpful right now.
Yes, but not long term.
But not long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually not even sure about that. Like, this is how Bitcoin coordinates its own soft forks. They have miners write signaling information into the blocks they produce.
Yeah, but it's different.
How's it different?
Because this is recording intent as opposed to just a version. Anyone can report that they've whatever they want there, as opposed to something that's being used as a voting or not voting, but unofficial kind of voting. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, it's interesting information, but it's not information you can rely on because people can put whatever they want if they choose to.
Well, what we could do is couple this with like the Explorer and say like, here's the versions of the node software that people are running. So that way, like if miners get into the habit of understanding that if we are embargoing like a critical bug fix that needs to be not talked about, it's important to make sure that at least some % of the network is upgraded before we can start talking about problems. You could treat version numbering as like, you must reach this version number before we can release the CVE or something like that. So it's in miners' interest.
Yeah, but if that happens, you can decide what signature people put in their blocks on a haddock kind of.
Yeah, I see what Pascal is saying. I mean, we're Jude, I think you're saying that you want to rely on that version number being reported to understand when we can announce critical information about CVEs. But Pascal is saying that the version being reported is actually unreliable because it could be modified by anybody.
Yeah, if you want to see like 250 as a value somewhere in the block from a certain number of people, that you can rely on because they might. But anything else, I don't think you can rely on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You put this in the block itself. Like it's not free to change the memo field. You're sending a block commit with this information in it.
Yeah, but anyone could just rebuild the code.
Right, exactly.
And with any version that they choose, they could rebuild it and say that they're running a certain version when in fact they're not running that version. They're running something much older or much newer instead.
Or they could set a new value every block or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so like that is like all true. But if all you're trying to do is like get some information about how much of a network has like rolled out a fix before like revealing a CVE, the consequences of like getting that wrong are pretty low.
Yeah, miners are only hurting themselves in this case by lying. You run an old version that's vulnerable and you report a newer version, like you just opened yourself up to attack once the CVE is released.
Yeah. And like you could also like, you could come up with a policy that prevents miners from having the ability to like indefinitely delay the CVE, because like you could say like, the way we do this reporting is like we take the minimum of like 75% or 90% rollout amongst miners and 1 week or something.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we need to go into consensus. It's something you can add to 2.1, but before that.
Consensus
but it's not it's not consensus critical.
You can put whatever you want in your memo field, like you said. This is more like miners making sure that they don't expose themselves to vulnerabilities becoming public. Like, sure, they don't have to cooperate. They can put whatever they want in there, but that's only hurting themselves. And also, miners aren't.
Sure, they could have mitigated the issue differently, though. Not in the same way, but they're still no longer affected. I don't know. It feels more like it's information, but it's not critically useful information because that's unreliable by definition.
Yeah, but that's not the point, though. The point is just to help us get at least some insight as to whether or not updates are being picked up. It's not going to stop us from disclosing a CVE. It's just helping. It's just more like helping us understand, like, are we putting the network at risk by announcing it too soon?
Right, but you can decide for each one what you do to get that kind of signaling. I mean, you can have a default kind of signal, but if that signal has been compromised as well, you just use a different thing every time. If that's part of the compromise.
Having a process in place, I think, is in and of itself valuable, so people at least know what to expect.
At least for the happy path, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, if we're assuming that miners are malicious to the point where they're going to lie about this sort of thing, then it's kind of nonsensical to assume they're not going to do other bad things too, is the way I see it.
It's kind of assume the worst, hope for the best, but yeah.
Well, that's true for all distributed systems.
Yeah.
I know that we're coming up on time here. I just wanted to also bring a couple things to this meeting's attention here. We got 3 SIPs that are inching towards ratification, 2 of which I think are going to be really good to have ratified sooner rather than later. And those are the fungible token SIP and the non-fungible token SIP, written by Hank and Frieger, respectively. If anyone in this meeting wants to just take a pass over those, if they haven't already, please do so. And if you're willing, just go ahead and hit approve on the on GitHub to say that you approve the change, or if you have comments, leave comments and say request changes. I just don't want these things to languish in like just language in GitHub code review hell for a while, because I think that it would be, I think there's several other projects that are waiting for like a standard way of doing fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. Same idea for SIP 11. SIP 11 I don't think is quite as urgent, but the thing that I'm really hoping for clarity on SIP 11 is whether or not it's sufficient to ratify this SIP just by having the core developers say that, yes, it's okay to contact me at 3 a.m. on Saturday if the chain breaks. Does that all make sense? I don't have anything else for discussion besides these things. So is there anything else? All right, I'll go ahead and recording then.